Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Vadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Muttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. Rudraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki Jai. We are reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 3rd canto, 26th chapter, titled as The Principles of Material Nature, text number 6. Kapila Devi is explaining to Mata Devhuti about different modes of material nature and how they influence the living entity, but they cannot influence the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. All the living entities, they are covered by 3 modes of nature, Sattva Guna, Rajaguna and Tamoguna, right? And under the modes of nature, the living entities, real identity is covered. Our real identity is that we are servants of Krishna. But then under the modes of nature, the living entities think oneself to be the master. Real master is Krishna. But then when we are covered with these modes of nature make a curtain around us and prevents us from understanding our real identity. And that is what is explained here in this chapter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Kapil Dev is saying to Mata Devhuti, Evam parabhidhyanena kartutvam prakrite puman karmashu kriyamaneshu guneratmani manyate. Kapil Dev is saying, because of his forgetfulness, the transcendental living entity accepts the influence of material energy as his field of activities, and thus, actuated, he wrongly applies the activities to himself. So here, under the 3 modes of material nature, the living entity which is transcendental to these modes, but now under the influence of 3 modes, the living entity thinks itself as the doer, and he thinks that he is the one who is doing everything. So Prabhupada ji is explaining about this false identity. Prabhupada ji is saying, the forgetful living entity can be compared to a man who is under the influence of disease and has become mad, or to a man haunted by ghosts who acts without control and yet thinks himself to be in control. So that is the nature of all the material entities which are covered by 3 modes of nature, Sattva Guna, Rajaguna and Tamoguna. Under the influence of these 3 modes of nature, the living entity forgets his own identity, that it is transcendental and it is living entity is servant of Krishna. So now, under the influence of 3 modes of nature, material nature, the living entity becomes mad and it acts as if there is nobody watching. It acts without any control, just like a madman who works without control. So Prabhupada is saying, under the influence of material nature, the conditioned soul becomes absorbed in material consciousness. So, and in this consciousness, which is material consciousness, whatever is done is accepted by conditioned souls as self-actuated. Even though the living entity is acting under the influence of Sattva Guna, Rajaguna or Tamoguna, the living entity is thinking that oneself is doing, because that is under the influence of material modes of nature. Actually, the soul is in his pure state of existence should be in Krishna consciousness. We all should be thinking that everything is done by Krishna. Krishna says, Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharan. Everything is working by under the Krishna's energy. But we think that we are doing it. And that is the wrong identity. Actually, Krishna is doing everything. We should think like that. That is Krishna consciousness. When person is not acting in Krishna consciousness, he is said to be understood to be acting in material consciousness. Consciousness cannot be killed. For symptom of living entity is consciousness. So everybody has consciousness, either it is Krishna consciousness or material consciousness. What Krishna consciousness means understanding and thinking that everything is done by Krishna. Krishna is the master. Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer. We are here to serve Krishna. That is Krishna consciousness. And what is material consciousness? Thinking that I am the enjoyer, I am the one who is doing everything, I am the master of everything. That is material consciousness. Either Krishna conscious or material consciousness. There cannot be anything in between. Right? You can be either devotee or non-devotee. That's it. Material consciousness simply has to be purified. One becomes liberated by accepting Krishna or the Supreme Lord as a master and by changing the mode of consciousness from material consciousness to Krishna consciousness. So we have to purify our existence by changing our consciousness, by accepting that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, He is the master of everything, and we are here to serve Krishna. So that is what Krishna consciousness. So here Kapila Dev is explaining to Mata Devhuti that everybody, all the living entities, they forget their identity, they forget their connection with Krishna, and they think that they're independent. Living entities, they think they're independent, but we are not independent. We are always controlled by, and we are always part and parcel of Krishna. We are servant of Krishna. We are never master of Krishna. So that is the original identity of all the living entities. If we forget Krishna at any point in our life, which means that we are in a diseased state. Diseased state means that which is abnormal. When you have a disease which is not normal. Similarly, material consciousness is a disease condition, and the cured condition is that accepting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, offering everything to service of Krishna. With that, we'll pause here. We'll continue our discussion tomorrow. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanande.